So welcome to Technology Day, and my name is Ed Jaramillo, for those of you that don't know me. Um, I'm presenting on social networks and networking tools for the classroom and something about the millennial generation. I've been teaching technology since probably 1985 or thereabouts, beginnings of the PC. If some of you may know the TRS-80 and the Atari 64 and the Commodore this and that. So I've been involved with technology and teaching it for all that. And of course, I try to keep up with the trends. The trends are getting too fast right now, or either I'm getting old now and I can keep up, one or the other. One of the exercises I do with some of my classes before we start, especially young folks nowadays, is, and you don't need to do it, but think about it while I'm telling you what I would like you to do. If you start digging through your pockets, how many megabytes of information you have in your pockets right now? So if you start pulling out flash drives, cellular phones, you may have a laptop, some of you may have a netbook, a smartphone, a PDA, a BlackBerry, whatever. And you start counting how many megabytes, and of course nowadays we start counting on terabytes of information. All of us are now becoming dependent on all this digital technology to carry us through. So students today come to the classroom with, at last count, some of the students came with 5 or 6 terabytes of information in their pockets. Okay? So as they start dumping all their cars and phones and laptops and other devices that they carry, they're carrying a lot of information inside in their pockets. So today what I wanted to kind of start looking at that is, what does that mean in the terms of a social network? We're going to look at something called the social media universe, which is basically somebody put together all the social websites, a little chart, and I call it the universe. And then the millennial generation and some teaching strategies about their behavior. I don't think we have anyone here from the millennial generation. Okay? I see a lot of baby boomers, okay, and some echo boomers in here, but not millennials. So that, hopefully that's why you're here, to kind of learn a little bit about this. So let's kind of the basics first. What is a social network? Well, for our generations, it's always been, we've talked about this network for many years. If you want to get a job, you got a network, right? And what does that mean to you when they tell you you want to get a job, you have to network? It means you go to a conference, you can meet up with the people that are experts in the field, you send out resumes to the key people. So you're trying to find who belongs in that network that could help you out or that you can influence. Now, you may not be looking for a job, but somebody may refer somebody to you because you're what they call an authority in the network. You're one of those folks that knows about where all the jobs are. So people come to you and says, hey, I heard that you know where all the jobs are. And that's part of the network as well. So the more people we have in the network, the more connections we make. Okay, and this is a theory from computer science. So the more connections you have, the more possibilities are that you can get what you need. Oh, and by the way, the network won't break down as often because you have more ways of getting the data around. So same thing with social networks. Today the difference is we've applied technology to it. And for those of you that aren't not familiar with Facebook, we'll have Facebook in a minute. If you're a member of Facebook, there are about 350 million users. So in theory, you have a network of 350 million people that you can reach. So to get a job in Facebook should be easy, right? Just go find people that have this kind of interest and start trying to see if you're hey, you want to be my friend? Of course, I mute everybody that wants to be my friend, but that's a different issue, okay? But in theory, that's what the social network is all about. Technology allowing you to make this connection. So give you a visual here. So again, that's a good-looking guy there, right? And in the past, if I was a musician and I wanted to meet Beethoven in person and maybe work for Mr. Beethoven, I had to go through Linus. He's the only one that knew him, right? And that was the only one that I knew him. So I would go to Linus and notice that Linus has a series of friends out there or people in their network, okay? And then eventually I would do that. But I would have to have a letter, a meeting, a phone call. I would have to travel. I would have to do all kinds of things to get to meet Mr. Beethoven and ask for a job or say, here's my music. Do you think it's any good? Okay. Today, we can have the same connection except that I can meet Mr. Beethoven in a few minutes, sometimes even seconds, because Linus says, oh yeah, I have an address, or here, let me hook you up, or better yet, a place like Facebook says, Ed likes to write music, and Mr. Beethoven likes to review music. Let's see if we can put them together, right? So Facebook comes to me and says, do you want to meet this guy named Beethoven? He's kind of famous. And you go, yes. And I click, and I try to add him as my friend. And if they say yes, all of a sudden I have a connection. Now I can do video, I can chat with them from the comfort of my own home in my pajamas. Right? So I don't have to travel, write letters, wait for time. It's almost instantaneous in some cases. And social networks are giving you that. So imagine your students or the people that you serve as a students, they have the ability in all these networks that we're going to look at to do this instantaneously. So as I found out in a class a couple of quarters ago, somebody had all the answers to everything in the book. And how did they get that? They went to the author of the book in Facebook and said, hey, I'm teaching a class. Could you please, I can't find your handouts online. Could you please give me that? And the person in Facebook told them, here is the handout. Here's where you can reach him. Here's our website. Here's my author's website. Not the publishers. Of course, in the publishers, you need to have login and password, right? And the author's website was like, here's everything. Good luck teaching. Good luck taking the test, basically. So, I mean, those kind of connections were, you would never imagine a student going to a person that wrote a book and said, please give me the answers to your textbook in any other way. But today, that can be done very easily through places like Facebook and such. Of course, you can ask questions at any time, in case you want. Okay, so how is this concept being used? And you see it all the time. In Amazon, for example, they give you the old recommendations list, right? If this person bought this book that you have, other people have also bought this. Now, they have a very complex algorithm in order to figure out the network part of this, the social network, but it's based on something that's very simple. You buy a book, then you also buy a bottle of wine, and you buy cigars, right? And another person buys the same book, and they also buy a bottle of wine. Guess what they're going to be told to buy next? Cigars, right? Because we assume these people behave the same way. And as they capture credit card information and your demographics, then they can start making models of this type of age, this type of person, Hispanic, male, 21 years old, those kind of things. And then they say, this is the kind of things they buy right now. And they can adjust them on the fly as you're buying things. Of course, the social networks that we talked about, but think about this also, which a lot of people don't think about. Cellular phone plans, when they give you this family plan and family and friends plan, and you have 20 friends in the network that use that and you don't get charged for their calls, how are you going to get out of that network anytime soon if you like to talk to your friends? Well, they're trapping you by bringing all your friends into one circle. Social networks try to do that to try to get your attention. Of course, commercial networks want to do that to try to get your attention. Now, what does that have to do with teaching? Well, the fact is that a lot of students learn about this in their, in their lives, and now they think that they're only supposed to play in one sandbox. So if they say, well, I like this social network, I'm staying in it because I don't want to get out. And when you give them other alternatives, they may not want to get out because all their friends are there, right? So all these kind of things are things that you need to kind of think about when you're doing. Okay, you're going to hate this chart, but I love it. No, never mind. Okay. Very busy chart. Put together by a gentleman from France called Fred Cavazza. And it's basically he calls it a social media landscape. I call it social media universe. Okay, I recreated it here because this chart is really hard to read. So what you have is basically what all these social networks out there that we talk about, how do we classify them? So if you look carefully around the edges, there are some that people can use for publishing, for sharing information, for discussion, actual networks to socialize, in other words, to have friends. For microblogs, if you look at the published one up there, the little orange bee is the actual blogging. It's a blogging website where you can blog. Okay. Over here, you can microblog. What is microblogging?